The Army has a solution for quite literally every single problem, whether it be physical, mental, or spiritual. One of those problems is when you are forced to communicate non-verbally. This could happen for a number of reasons. Sneaking up on an enemy, maybe you're evading capture, or spontaneous laryngitis, perhaps. Enter FM21-60 visual signals published by HQDA in September of 1987. Approved for public release, by the way, before you get mad that I'm giving China all of our secrets. Military hand signals are just like any other language. Each movement has a specific definition. Some are fairly intuitive, others not. The problem is that some hand and arm signals overlap with things we commonly do but have different definitions. It would be like two languages both having the word ocean, but one means a large body of water that separates continents, and the other language having the definition of ocean be a style of desks used between 1973 and 1997. Now, of course, this isn't just a video on FM 21-60. Not that it's not important, but it is funny that they included this one little line. All languages have their own limitations. The further you get away from concrete nouns and verbs, the more that abstraction, interpretation, and inference take hold on what you're actually saying.
The way you signaled an incoming air attack seemed like you were mad at me.
The layering of language brings its own set of issues. The difference between an okay with a period and an okay sans period is enough to ruin entire afternoons. Verbal inflections can change the meaning of a sentence completely without even changing the words. A colorful example that I like to use is I didn't punch his grandma. I didn't punch his grandma versus I didn't punch his grandma. Changing the emphasis on each word in the sentence produces different effects and subliminal meanings. For maximum effect, try changing the inflection on the verb in the sentence. I'll give you a second to try that out for yourself. Alright, moving on. Depending on personal experience and outside context, saying the same thing can just mean different things. Someone saying I love you for the first time to someone else could be a momentous occasion that took weeks of courage and suppressed feelings, or it could be the same thing they say to the waitress who gave them a good brunch recommendation.
Was that 155mm flare round special, or does he fire those for all the girls he talks to?
We've lost a lot of the weight behind our words due to the overuse of the more powerful ones in normal conversation. Single star versus star cluster. The same way that printing trillions of dollars leads to hyperinflation, calling every mildly good thing awesome leaves us with nothing worthy on the higher end. We use words that used to be reserved for gods and the universe to describe how good our breakfast tasted. Possibly one of the greatest losses of language is the sense of authenticity. Everything has to be covered in layers upon layers of irony and done in a layer of critical self-awareness rooted in fear of expectations of others. Genuine words almost always have to be prefaced with a warning. Hey, I know this is embarrassing, but... I know this is gonna sound cringy, but... Tell me if I'm being crazy, but... As a millennial, it is near impossible for me to end any serious sentence without saying haha or lol. I know we haven't been together that long, and stop me if this sounds crazy, but I love you, lol, when in reality it should just say this. It's funny that I remember a time where the limited nature of texting on a typical number pad led to the vast majority of words being shortened to the point of almost lacking recognition, but now we've almost overcorrected over fear of misinterpretation. Artificial intelligence was supposed to create a labor-less utopia, but now it tells me if my emails are worded too aggressively. There are hundreds of pages of official publications attempting to explain what the tens of thousands of acronyms the military uses, and it reached those hundreds of pages of content without even having the space to explain what each of those things are, and some even containing acronyms within the acronyms.
Did he text back?
Yeah, he said meet at the MFP, but I don't know if he meant the mortar firing point or mobile firing platform.
Sometimes we use backronyms where they find a word they want to use and then manufacture the meaning behind it. Sometimes words don't make it into the final meaning because it would ruin the overall structure. And we all do the exact same thing. We self-censor ourselves, leaving out crucial details in an effort to not make things weird. We wouldn't want to say what we actually mean for fear of love bombing someone or giving them emotional blackmail or other phrases that only exist on the internet. We can't break the structure or inertia we have going because it might be uncharacteristic of our perceived selves. And sometimes we just don't say anything at all. Sometimes we like to feign intelligence or worldliness. Everyone knows that one NCO that loves to say the word behoove because not only does it sound smart and old, but it has more than one syllable. People love to categorize things. This symbol means to secure, and this symbol means occupy. Ask any normal human being and they would agree that those two words are roughly equal and that the closest in symbology would imply it. But make the mistake of saying that to any of these three ranks and you're likely to receive a lecture on how they're not even close. The prevalence of pseudotherapy human resource language has tried to commodify the raw emotional aspects of language that are crucial to the human experience. The military in most regards is no different. Saying that hundreds of thousands are marching in the desert is near impossible to picture in one's mind, so we translate this into dots, shaded maps, and big arrows. This is starting to get long-winded, so I'm just going to summarize it here. Words mean things, like they actually mean things, and we have to use them carefully and with intent. We also have to recognize that each person uses language differently, and that the intent behind it is the most important thing, not necessarily the exact words that were chosen, if they were chosen maybe incorrectly. Do the work of relaying your intent and ensure the other person recognizes it. Sending information is only half of a conversation. You can't have one without confirmation.